up very quick, and we've got a bunch of great games coming out. Hi folks, it's Falcon, and today on Game Ranks, the top 7 new games of June 2020. Starting off at number 7 is Desperados 3, a prequel to the strategy stealth series, and the first in the series to come out since 2007. This looks like a really darn good stealth game to me. There's some elements of it that really remind me of old school Metal Gear, but the way it's developed the idea of the view cone, where the enemy can see you, is really cool. Instead of having a mini-map that shows you all of that information, it's projected on the actual main map, and the view cone itself actually gives you the various stages, the evasion stage, blah blah blah. I'm obviously using Metal Gear terminology to explain this, but it really reminds me of the older school Metal Gear, which is good. I've kind of been craving something like this for a while, and given how long it's been since a Desperados title, like I said, there hasn't been a game in this series since 2007, and in truth, I'd pretty much forgotten the series even existed. I'm totally there for this update to it, though. What's cool is it is actually narrative-driven, so while it refers to itself as a real-time tactics stealth game, or a strategy stealth game, it doesn't just aim to suck you in through the gameplay, but trying to give you an immersive world and real motivations to complete these missions. It's obviously set in the Wild West, it's a cowboy game, but you have 5 different characters with different skills and the ability to do non-lethal and lethal. Honestly, it looks like a ton of fun. I can't wait to play it. Desperados 3 is coming to PC, PS4, and Xbox One on June 16th. At number 6 is The Elder Scrolls Online Greymoor, which is being billed as a descent into the dark heart of Skyrim. The official plot is stopping a vampire lord from enslaving the entirety of Tamriel, but is in truth a continuation of the story that began with Harrowstorm. Now, while you have seen Skyrim in Elder Scrolls Online, the entirety of Western Skyrim is unlocked in Greymoor. According to Bethesda, this is going to be a 30-hour quest, and is actually the start of a Dark Heart of Skyrim year-long adventure, Greymoor being the first chapter, so there's a lot more to do aside from these 30 hours they've promised. Also, there's something they're calling an antiquities system, where you'll uncover the world's hidden history according to marketing materials. Obviously, it's an elaborate lore system, which is fine. I mean, it's probably a bit of a collectathon in some respects. However, I do think for a lot of people, that's actually fun. Uncovering the history of Skyrim, that's not something I don't want to do. Greymoor itself is history. It happens 900 years before the actual Skyrim game. So it should be really interesting to see exactly what's different about Skyrim. And of course, it will always be fun to see a region of Elder Scrolls updated for the much better look that is the Elder Scrolls Online. At number 5 is Ninjala, which is a Splatoon-like, for lack of a better term. However, I've actually identified in previous videos that I think it retains a lot of Legend of the Mystical Ninja / Gomon influence. If you remember that series, if you basically made those games into a multiplayer game very akin to Splatoon, I believe this is essentially what you'd have. As far as the look, it definitely apes Splatoon a lot more than anything else. But instead of painting, you're hacking and slashing with ninja weapons, doing disguises that are quite frankly very silly, and enjoying a killer, very Legend of the Mystical Ninja-ish, samurai-sounding soundtrack. I may be projecting the Legend of the Mystical Ninja stuff onto it, I don't know. I haven't played it yet, of course, but I'm really excited for it. It looks like a super fun game, and like the yo-yo, for instance, has got me quite interested. It looks silly in the right way, and it is free to play, which offers a distinct advantage of I will have it day one, no questions, but also does open the door to some stuff that we obviously aren't super excited about. We'll see exactly to what extent that stuff makes its appearance, but outside of that concern, this looks like possibly one of the most fun multiplayer games. And if it turns out to be as good as it looks, then it's my opinion that we have a real contender for Switch Multiplayer Game of the Year here. That game is hitting June 24th. I will be checking it out. At number 4, Disintegration is an interesting looking game. It bills itself as a sci-fi FPS with RTS elements. Now, the way I've kind of translated this mentally is it looks a lot like you pilot these devices called grav cycles, and in some ways command a small team in a manner that reminds me a little bit of like a MOBA. And I mean kind of along the lines of a League of Legends. You have the ability to direct your team to attack specific targets, perform various tasks, collect things, etc. And I think it's actually a really clever combination of ideas, and if it actually works well, it actually sounds like a unique and probably really good game. The world it's set in is pretty interesting looking. It's post-apocalyptic, there's been a pandemic, maybe a little bit too on the nose for some people at the moment, but maybe not, I don't know, it's not gonna bug me. The co-creator of Halo is who came up with this game, and I think, in all actuality, it looks like it has a lot of personality, on top of being like a clever gameplay combination of ideas. And there's also PvP multiplayer with pilots and crews, which sounds, in truth, like it could have a lot of potential, given the combination of types of games we're talking here. Disintegration is making its way onto PC, but also the two major console platforms, PS4 and Xbox One, on June 16th. I'm probably going to try it on PC. It looks like something that might be a little easier to control there, but we'll see. And number 3 is SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated, which is one of those games that you have nostalgia for only when you remember exists. It was a long time ago it came out for the PlayStation 2 and GameCube, Xbox as well. That was back in 2003, and it's a game that really looks like it's from 2003. But they've done a lot in updating it, so it doesn't really look quite as nightmarish. And yeah, that's the kind of game it looked like. Because they didn't really have like toon shading in it. They had kind of weirdly just lack of detail type shading. But they've gone ahead and made this a very colorful remake. They've added a lot to the visual aesthetic in that respect, as well as making it so that the characters themselves don't have nightmarish shadows all over them all the time. The lighting behaves a lot more like a cartoon, and it overall just looks a lot better. It looks like the core game itself, even down to levels though, has been preserved. At the time, it was kind of harshly reviewed on account it was a collectathon, and it came out at a time when there was literally just a million of them. However, looking back, it's actually a pretty darn good game, and it's pretty cool that they went back to remake it. They've also added a multiplayer element as well as included a bunch of cut content. SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom Rehydrated comes to PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch on the 23rd. And number 2 is Valorant, a new game from the League of Legends creators at Riot Games. Valorant is billing itself as a tactical shooter along the lines of Rainbow Six Siege or CSGO. There are some obvious other elements here. For instance, they call the different characters agents. You select one at the beginning of the match. They have different abilities, and therefore, strategically speaking, that kind of adds some Overwatch elements to it. However, as far as the style of play, they really want you to think along the lines of CSGO. The main mode in this game is to plant a bomb. Again, like I said, CSGO, very large inspiration here, while the other team tries to stop you. But from the looks, it adds so much stuff that it feels like something different altogether. Now, I'm very intrigued by this. I think that it sounds put together well enough that adding abilities to CSGO and a pseudo-class system that doesn't actually take it all the way over to Overwatch sounds like a pretty tantalizing idea, honestly. These are apparently fast-paced matches that, if they manage to go on way too long, are an hour. First to 13 round wins is the winner, and I imagine that will take significantly less than an hour. I don't know, looks and sounds really good to me. Valorant comes out on PC, it's free to play, and it'll be hitting June 2nd. And finally, at number 1 is The Last of Us Part 2. Of course, a game that you could spoil for yourself very badly. But overall, we're talking about the next installment in something that we're very happy has become a series. We're very interested to see where it goes. I've managed not to spoil it for myself, despite even saying this in videos. Yeah, that's right, I'm not looking at Twitter. I can't see it if you're sending me it. Ha! In all seriousness, what happened at the end of the first game has had us all very curious for a very long time. But that's not the only reason to go into this. What it really looks like is that they've expanded upon the game's mechanics to such a degree that I think it really looks like a big jump. We're talking a lot of different stealth mechanics. We're talking a jump button. We're talking more vertical combat situations. Ellie, being the main character of the game, makes the game fairly different from Joel, because Joel is a big fella who's strong. Ellie's a bit smaller and a little more nimble, and they've made systems that accommodate that. Also, they've tried to make it so that stuff you find in the environment is more useful for you, and I'm just looking forward to seeing exactly how far they were able to take it. Last of Us 2 comes out PS4 June 19th. Also, we got a couple of bonus games for you. First, Command & Conquer Remastered Edition. Now, I'm pretty stoked about this because although I wasn't really big into the original Command & Conquer, I played Command & Conquer Red Alert so much, and I can totally see myself just absolutely getting right into it. They've remastered the graphics to be 4K. You can actually go ahead and switch between the old graphics and new at any time. I'm not really 100% sure which I prefer. The new looks very much like the old, except for much higher detail, and the game looks really intact. I'm at very least going to play Red Alert again. It's that simple. The Command & Conquer Remastered Edition hits PC on June 5th. Our last one is Fortnite Chapter 2 Season 3. Fortnite is obviously one of the bigger forces in gaming, so it would be remiss not to mention it. And of course, anybody who is playing that game is looking forward to the next chapter. That is, of course, hitting PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Switch on